Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted, as always, to be joined by Elliot Grigg and Paul Kelly. We are in final prediction mode ahead of tonight's big card in Birmingham. It's the Magnificent Seven. Elliot, Paul, good to speak to both of you. We are going to kind of somehow get through all seven fights. Not going to be easy, but we are going to do this, and we are going to do it fairly quickly. Ethan James versus Owen Cooper, undefeated versus undefeated, English welterweight title at stake. Not sure there's kind of a huge favourite here, chaps. Could be one of those where it kind of ends up being fight of the night, albeit all it being at a lower level compared to the rest of the fights. Paul, I'll let you get us started. What's your prediction for this one?
Yeah, thanks for first and foremost for having me on, mate. I think this is maybe not obviously there's no real name value here for a casual fan or anything, but this is one of the best fights on the card. I think it's a real 50-50, both undefeated, as you mentioned. Neither are big punchers, obviously, as you would maybe expect down in those lower weights. But yeah, I think this is a cracking fight. Personally, I'm favouring Ethan James on points. I think of the two resumes, I think it's fair to say he has the ever so slightly better record. Obviously, they both fought their fair share of journeyman, but I think of late, Ethan James has stepped it up a little bit. And that's where my head's at. I would maybe lean it towards him at this moment in time on points.
Brilliant. Elliot, you're gonna follow Paul? You're gonna disagree with him? What are we getting started with here?
Yeah, I'm getting straight to Paul's slipstream, to be honest with you. I think the only thing that I can safely predict is this one's going all 10 rounds. Like Paul said there's not too many knockouts between them. I think only 3 with Owen Cooper, absolutely none for Ethan James. So it's going the full distance, in my opinion. Points again for Ethan James. Look at his record. He's fought, obviously, more fighters since the last fight out, the guy with a 19-2 record. You're not really seeing that from Owen Cooper. So, yeah, I think this experience favours him slightly. I'm going to go with the points victory as well that Paul's predicted.
Fantastic. 1 down, 6 to go. Pierce O'Leary versus Hovhannes Martirosyan. As always, I'm really sorry if I've not said that name correctly. Elliot, going to go to you for this one first. Pierce O'Leary is the undefeated fighter here, as is Martirosyan. 13-0 versus 16-0. Both punches. Yeah, can you get like Pierce O'Leary is quite the strong favourite here, one of the stronger favourites that we're going to see in the night. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, nice to have me predicting someone from Ireland first, because I'm actually going to go with the Irishman in this one as well. I think I'm actually going to go for a stoppage. I know people have given fighters on our channel a lot of respect for coming from countries such as France and Belgium when the likes of Callum Smith have beaten them, but I think this would be a fairly comfortable victory actually for Pierce O'Leary. I'm going stoppage, frankly, and I think look, he stopped a lot of guys early, he stopped a few guys late, but I'm actually going to go somewhere sort of rounds 3 and 4 for me.
Brilliant. Paul, agree or disagree?
I love Elliot's confidence there in the Irishman. I think he's going to win as well, Pierce O'Leary. However, I think it would either be a late knockout or maybe even points. I'd like to think that O'Leary can get him out of there. Martirosyan, or whatever you call him. Again, apologies for butchered his name. Never fought out of Belgium, so you kind of never know when the people are coming over from these European countries, whether what they're really made of. But I think Pierce O'Leary's very heavy-handed. I'd be surprised if he doesn't at least get a knockdown or two in the fight. I'm leaning towards a late knockout, but wouldn't surprise me if it was on points.
We shall see. All right, okay, we're in a bit of a flow now, so we'll keep going. Zach Parker versus Tyrone Gee. Gee fought Rocky Fielding quite a long time ago and lost, which made Rocky Fielding world champion. Kind of retired for a while, and has come back. Hasn't really kind of fought anybody of note since coming back. However, still 31 years of age. Zach Parker, on the other hand, had that defeat to John Ryder a year or so ago now, with a record of 23-1. Zach Parker, yeah, the favourite in this one. Paul, what are your thoughts here?
Keeping it short and sweet, I think Zach Parker should run through Tyrone Zoiga, to be quite honest with you. I think, like, if you're getting stopped by Rocky Fielding in 5 rounds, with no disrespect to Rocky Fielding, I think Zach Parker really has to be saying and going in there and putting a statement on. I think Tyrone Zoiga doesn't look in his best shape. I'm not saying he's bad shape, but he looks a little bit fleshy, compared to Zach Parker. And I think Zach Parker is going to take him out there. It wouldn't surprise me if it was early, before round 6 anyway.
Elliot, you agreeing with Paul? Early Parker stoppage?
Yeah, Paul's taking the words out of my mouth. I think anyone that gets stopped by Rocky Fielding is shouldn't necessarily prevail in a fight against that Parker. I think it's after that loss to the retirement that he had to ride. I think you almost need that Parker to come out again and make a bit of a statement, get a bit of a buzz around himself. And I think this is actually a perfect opportunity to do that. I think it'll be early doors, definitely before round 5.
Okay, we shall see. I'm looking forward to that one. Gets a little bit more interesting now. Dennis McCann versus Brad Strand. Again, undefeated versus undefeated. A lot of undefeated fighters on this card. Dennis McCann, 23 years old now. Maybe hasn't had the best time in his career. Had that fight against Beluta, which maybe he was fortunate not to lose. Brad Strand has looked pretty good in his last fight against Joshua John on a Queensbury Friday Night Your Call show. Could be an upset here, so I'm interested to see what both of you are predicting. Elliot.
For me, there is no upset. I think I'm a big fan of Dennis McCann, frankly. Big step up last time out against Beluta, didn't he? There, again, a very, very obviously close fight there. I think he beat Strand. To be honest with you, the question for me is, does he stop him? Strand's not obviously the most powerful fighter, so I think no, keep McCann off him. I actually think McCann might actually win on points here, though, to be perfectly honest with you, over 10 rounds. So I'm favouring McCann on points, but I think it'll be fairly convincing.
Okay, Paul, give us your thoughts.
Our first disagreement, I'm actually going to go with Brad Strand on this one. I think Dennis McCann, I think he was very lucky to get the draw against Beluta. Last time out, I think he showed that when you fight a certain way against him and you frustrate him, he throws his game plan out the window a little bit, and he's easily dragged into your type of fight. I think Brad Strand, if he boxes on the back foot, he was a stellar amateur, and I know amateur and pro boxing are completely different, but I think he's very skillful and has all the attributes to beat Dennis McCann on points. So yeah, if Brad Strand is going to win, it's going to be on points. So yeah, I'm going for that.
Okay, first disagreement of the night. We're gone through the halfway point, gents. Only 3 fights to go. Liam Davis versus Eric Robles Ayala. For those that don't know, Robles beat Lee McGregor last year in a fantastic fight in Edinburgh. Liam Davis has been a bit of a run, bit of a KO streak in his last couple of fights. Talk of him fighting for a world title in the next 12 months. Thought of him possibly fighting Inoue as a possibility at super bantamweight. We shall see. But again, not an easy fight for him. Paul, I'll go back to you. Another upset, or are you going for Liam Davis to win?
No upset here for me. I think Liam Davis should win this. In saying that, I think Robles Ayala could maybe have his moments. I do think that he'll win a few rounds. I'm done doubting Liam Davis. There was a few fights I thought he would maybe have going to get beaten, and he's made me look like an absolute mug. So I'm not going against him anymore. I think Liam Davis will win this. I don't think he'll stop Ayala, so I would lean towards points.
Okay, Elliot, what are you going for here?
Well, we agree and we disagree. I also think he could go the distance, but I'm actually thinking the Mexican's going to win. I think El Terrible could win this. I think just the victory against McGregor obviously was fairly impressive given the location as well. You're sitting there in Edinburgh beating Lee McGregor. You've obviously won that fight. I think for me, Davis has impressed. Actually, he's impressed against Beluta. He's impressed when I saw him fight Jason Cunningham as well. Obviously in the short time that took on. But I think the man from Mexico is going to come. I just got a feeling, man, that the man from Mexico is going to come over 23 years old and make a real statement. He's going to come over to fight, and I think he can get the job done.
Yeah, look, we saw Liam Davis hit the deck in his last fight and then did come back to win by stoppage against Firmina. So we will see. Look, I do think there is going to be an upset tomorrow night or two. But what fight it's going to be in, we will have to wait and see. Not the most magnificent of fights here. Joe Joyce versus Cash Ali. Joe Joyce having those 2 losses to Zhilei Zhang last year. Cash Ali, I think we're aware of the sort of level he's operated at in his career. He's actually been pro for I think around 12 years now. He's been around a long time. Elliot, what are your thoughts here? What's going to happen? Big heavyweight fight.
I'm torn between having interviewed Cash Ali and quite liking him as a man, thinking this is a ridiculous fight, that's a clear mismatch. And frankly, if Joe Joyce should win this convincingly, and if he doesn't, I'd almost say I don't want to go full McKendry. I'd almost say Joe Joyce has finished at heavyweight level. If he doesn't make a fairly convincing statement victory here, frankly, I think there should be a golfing class Joe Joyce is slow though to start. He's slow to move around. So if Cash Ali can run around for a bit, maybe he can drag it out for a little while. But I genuinely think Joe Joyce has to stop him. And if he doesn't, even if imagine if he labours like a points victory, that would almost be like a loss. I think he's gonna have to stop him, and make a bit of a statement here. To be perfectly honest with you.
Would you go one step further and say Joe Joyce, like this needs to be a 2-3 round job for Joyce here, really? If you consider a year ago, people were calling Joyce a top 5 heavyweight, and he's going up against Cash Ali, who is possibly kind of seen as English title level. So if Joe Joyce was to get, an 8th round stoppage here, it might even be seen as disappointing. Would you go that far?
It would be disappointing, but to be honest with you, I wouldn't actually be surprised if it took him more than a couple of rounds. Like, Joyce is quite slow. I can see him sort of plodding on, doing that kind of slow jab that he does. I can see Cash Ali essentially. He's going to have to try and survive, isn't he? Like, he's not expected to win this. I don't think he will win this. He's not going to stop Joe Joyce. But equally, to be honest with you, I can see it maybe being somewhere around 4-5. I can see Joyce putting on a bit of one of those sort of stinker performances, nice of Yushinov or something again, but like really sort of just trying to get out. And then at the end of it, we'll hear, you've got rounds in the bank, etc. But I think, it's got to be first half for me, really, for it not to be disappointing.
Okay, Paul, what are your thoughts? You're going to predict a Cash Ali upset?
I'm not, mate, but I do agree with what Elliot said. It has to be emphatic. Let's be honest. It really does have to be emphatic. No disrespect at all to Cash Ali, but like there are levels on paper between these two. The only thing I would say is, could you imagine Joe Joyce's chin is just completely gone? Like he had this brick of a head where like nothing, whatever you threw at him, you couldn't knock him out. Then we saw, obviously the first fight with Zhang, he got stopped, and then the second fight was a conclusive knockout. So all of a sudden has his chin gone. But is Cash Ali the man to check that chin? I'm not so sure. I would be surprised if this goes longer than 3 rounds. Joe Joyce simply has to get him out of there early.
I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. I think if you consider the manner in which Joe Joyce lost his last 2 fights after being seen as a top fight heavyweight, super durable, it will be interesting to see how he approaches this. And if he goes into this fight not scared, but just wary of what happened to him last time, it'll be really interesting to see how he fights. So I am actually looking forward to it. Finally, Nathan Heaney versus Brad Paul's British middleweight title on the line. Paul, me and you did the weigh-in reaction earlier/yesterday. I know you gave away you've given your prediction. I know you're going for Heaney to win. How do you think Nathan Heaney wins tomorrow night or tonight?
Yeah, mate, I think Nathan Heaney, because I can't get the performance against Denzel Bentley out of my head. I think he was superb on the night. This is a banana skin. I do think that. I know you alluded to the fact that if he has overlooked Brad Pauls in any shape or form, it could be disastrous, but I don't think he will have. I think Nathan Heaney will win. I think it'll be on points. He's not a massive puncher. But yeah, I see Pauls maybe picking up a few rounds, but ultimately, I see the hitman sending the Stokies into singing voice after a points victory.
We shall see. Elliot, we'll finish things with you. What is your final prediction for Nathan Heaney versus Brad Pauls?
Yeah, I totally agree with Paul. I think the only real surprise in Paul's prediction was that he didn't mention Tyler Denny. I think that we will have. I think Nathan Heaney's actually spot on. Not a power puncher, obviously. Not a lot of KOs in that record either. So I think it'd be points, but I think it'd be fairly convincing for Nathan Heaney, to be honest. But that said, I actually think it's the Denzel Bentley performance has actually put that in my mind. Like if he hadn't necessarily had that performance, I might have seen this as a much closer fight than it was. But yeah, I think looking at it now, I'm going Nathan Heaney points. So I totally agree with Paul.
Fantastic stuff. All right, well that wasn't too bad, was it? Managed to get through it without too many mishaps. Paul, Elliot, been good to get some final predictions. We'll maybe do a tally up on the Saturday night or the Sunday in terms of how many you all got right. Couple of disagreements there, so yeah, we'll see what happens. Really looking forward to it. A fantastic card on TNT Sports taking place. Gents, thank you very much for your time, and I will speak to both of you again soon.